Welcome. Do you want me looking this way? I'll look this way. Well, first of all, I have such a strong connection to Tamil community because my father grew up in Chennai and came to America in 1968. So, welcome to each and every one of you. Today, I want to thank the Tamil community of North Carolina, the North Carolina for Peace, and all of us who have gathered here today to remember this terrible day 10 years ago of Tamil genocide. These victims who lost their lives were husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters. They lost their lives in bloodshed because their freedoms were taken for granted. And the best way we can honor them today is to remember that we must hold those governments that were responsible for these war crimes accountable. That you cannot do these kinds of things in a free and democratic world. The other thing we must remember as the future generations of Sri Lankan children grow up in Sri Lanka, that we must fight for freedom, that they live in a world where they're not judged by where they're from or their religion or what they look like, but that they can live a life of freedom like we do in America, to pursue whatever dreams they want to do. Whether they want to come to America or do great things in Sri Lanka or do great things anywhere around the world. So we must work with international organizations like the United Nations, other international organizations. We must also, as the Indian American diaspora here in the United States, work with our United States Congress and United States Senate to ensure that the strategic relationship between India and the United States stays solid and strong, as the world's largest democracy and the world's oldest democracy can work together to make sure that they're promoting peace and democracy, even amidst the recent slayings in Sri Lanka a few weeks ago. That the true democratic powers must work to counter terrorism and promote freedom. I'll leave with this before I ask Senator Nickel to go, he's going to be following me, but President Lincoln on the battlefields of Gettysburg 150 years ago said that we hereby resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, and that this nation shall have a new birth of freedom, and that a government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall never perish from the earth. Just as our great President Lincoln prayed on the battlefields of Gettysburg, today we in North Carolina and anyone around the world today that's celebrating this Remembrance Day, we pray that Sri Lanka has a new birth of freedom. We pray that these children can live in freedom and dream anything they want to do. We pray for hope. We pray for peace. We pray for peace not only in our time, but we pray for peace and for all time. And then they would not have died in vain. Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here today. God bless each of you. God bless North Carolina. God bless Sri Lanka. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rao. Your understanding of the suffering and support for the Tamil community means not only to us, but also for the people around the world who have suffered by the civil war. Thank you. Next, I invite Professor Matt Jandal of Elon University to say a few words.
Vanakkam. I'm the director of Project Clericles at Elon University, and for the past 3 years, I've mentored a group of students. We've been to Sri Lanka on several occasions. We work very closely with Sarvodaya on a number of humanitarian initiatives throughout the country, and we've spent a fair amount of time in Tamil communities. In particular, we've worked very closely with 2 communities of internally displaced peoples, one in Sampur, just outside Trinco, and the second up in the Jaffna Peninsula, just north of Jaffna on the coast. And I would just like to share with all of you that to any of my fellow Americans or citizens that we come in contact with, we bear witness to your suffering. You know, we have seen people's lives shattered and destroyed, and the consequences of the violence and the genocide and the stolen lands. And I can promise you that insofar within whatever power we have as students and faculty members, we will do whatever we can to push our elected representatives here in the United States to make sure that nothing like that happens again. It shatters me to think that 10 years ago, our administration here in the United States stood idly by and knew fully well what was going on and did absolutely nothing. Did absolutely nothing. And like many of you, I worry when I see things in the news, like, for example, there's another Rajapaksa that's going to be running for president. This concerns me deeply. And again, I can promise you, insofar as whatever power I have, limited as it may be, we will, my students and I, will push, again, our elected representatives in the United States to do what we can to prevent further violence and further damage to your community in Sri Lanka.
Thank you, Professor Gentle. Because of your work and many other Tamil supporters, we hope that one day there will be accountability and justice for the lives lost and also equal rights to live in Sri Lanka for the Tamils to for peacefully.